Tyler Shough was drafted 40th overall by the New Orleans Saints in the 2025 NFL Draft. Many people blew off the selection when it happened, as he was a seventh-year player in college, had been injured a bunch, and was already 25 years old as a rookie when he was drafted. Now in his second season, Shough will be turning 27, but showed promise in his 10 starts as a rookie that give the Saints hope that they potentially found their franchise guy. Tyler Shough sat the first 8 games of his rookie season as Spencer Rattler led the Saints at the quarterback position, but after the Saints found themselves 1-6, Rattler was a little bit up and down, but really just turned the ball over way too often. He got the nod in Week 8 against Tampa Bay. He came in the third quarter. They didn't win that game, but after that game, the Saints finished the year 5-4 with Shough as the starter, which is why a lot of Saints fans have a lot of optimism that he is the guy. He was able to pull this team who was really, really struggling, and as soon as he became the starter, things got a lot better, at least in the win and loss column. So we're going to be going through his 2025 NFL season and then also predicting kind of how he might do in the 2026 season with some upgraded pieces around him as well. So looking back at 2025, in his 9 starts, he played significant time in 10 games. He went 221 for 327. That's a 67.6 completion percentage, just over 2,300 yards, 10 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, and then also on the ground added 186 yards and 3 touchdowns on 45 carries. Getting into some advanced PFF statistics as well, offensive grade is 74.6, that was 19th in the league. Passing grade 73.1, very league average, 16th there. 13 big-time throws, which was a big-time throw percentage of 3.8. That percentage is 26th in the NFL. His 8 turnover-worthy plays, or a 2.0 turnover-worthy play percentage. That percentage was really good, tied for 4th best in the NFL. Average depth of target was 15th. Adjusted completion percentage was tied for 12th. His pressure to sack ratio, probably the most concerning stat of all of these, 25.0. That was 3rd worst in the league. Time to throw, 2.7. That was the 10th fastest in the league. So those just kind of give you a little bit of a better understanding beyond just true counting stats, kind of what his season looks like. But taking a look at kind of some of the strengths and the weaknesses in his 2025 season, looking at his strengths, very obviously, he has ideal size for the position. 6'5", 225 pounds. That allows him to stand tall in the pocket. It allows him to take hits, stand strong, and be able to deliver. Attacking over the middle of the field was really an area that some quarterbacks, especially shorter ones, guys like Baker Mayfield or Kyler Murray, can sometimes struggle a bit more with. But he was really successful. Intermediate center of the field, that is passes 10 to 20 yards of depth and in between the hashes. It's an 85.1 passing grade per PFF. So we did a really good job attacking the middle of the field on spout routes over the middle, deep digs, crossers, things between the zones and the linebackers there. He was really effective attacking that area of the field. And then also his size kind of naturally comes along with good arm strength and velocity in his arm as well. He's willing to push the ball downfield. He's able to fit it into tight windows. On deep throws, 20 plus yards downfield, he had an 86.9 passing grade. 12 big time throws, no turnover worthy plays. So he was willing to push the ball down the field at times. He was able to take shots and take them effectively. He really didn't put the ball in harm's way when trying to push the ball down the field. Now, his big-time throw percentage of 3.8 wasn't all that high. That's 26th in the NFL. So I want to see Kellen Moore kind of develop more shot plays for him because he was really effective when they took those shots. As we'll talk about, though, he really didn't have the wide receiver talent either to really kind of stack defensive backs, track the ball downfield. So that didn't help his ability to kind of push the ball and take those play-action shot plays, but he was effective when he did it. Also, he was, I think, pretty good at reading progressions, reading out defenses, which is really promising for a rookie. Now, granted, he was a 25, 26-year-old rookie, so you would expect that to be much further along than a guy who's 21 years old coming out of college, but I was impressed by what he was able to do reading defenses, knowing kind of the defense and the system that they were going up against. I think he was able to prove that he can come off of a read. He didn't force the ball too often. That's shown by his, very low turnover-worthy play percentage. And he can get to a backside dig. He cannot force the ball into coverage. He's pretty quick to get the ball to a check down, 10th fastest time to throw in the league. I think he did a good job, recognizing when the coverage didn't allow him to kind of attack the concept that they had called, get the ball to the running back down below, short gain on the check down and keep the offense kind of on schedule. So I like that ability from him as well. And then I think off script, when things broke down, when the pocket kind of collapsed a little bit. I think there were moments where he doesn't have the best mobility. He's not this freaky athlete. He's not a guy that's going to go, run and scramble and take off, tear apart the defense that way. But I think he can do a pretty good job keeping his eyes downfield, not necessarily just giving up on the play. When appropriate, I think he can do a pretty decent job keeping his eyes downfield, throwing off platform, keeping, the ability to kind of keep the play alive and make a play downfield. So I like that from him as well. Some of the things that I didn't like as much on film, I think the accuracy was generally good, but he can miss at times. His adjusted completion percentage, 76.5, that's tied for 12th in the NFL. That's absolutely not bad by any means, but there are definitely just times when he is kind of skipping the ball on the ground. Maybe his feet aren't quite balanced and he's just not hitting the throw. I feel like I noticed that more on kind of out routes, things kind of towards the sideline, shorter, like a quick out route or a comeback. I felt like he was missing that a little bit too often, but overall, his accuracy is pretty generally good. It's not a major concern. The biggest area of concern, I would say, from his ability on the field is kind of how he managed and dealt with pressure. His pressure to sack ratio was very high. It was third worst in the NFL. Basically, every time the defense gets pressure, they're able to convert it into a sack 25% of the time, which is a very high mark. Anything above 20%, that's really kind of where you get a little bit concerned. And then when he was under pressure, he was 27th in the NFL with a 48.8 PFF passer grade. That's very difficult, because when you're under pressure, you make bad decisions, you kind of force the ball, you're less accurate. Things looked a little quick for him at times. He got sped up. He wasn't accurate. There were just too many times that he was, very quick to just chuck it away, or he would take a bad sack when he could have gotten rid of it. The good news for him is that he still took care of the ball, which is not always something that especially rookies do. He was often just sacked or failing to find holes in the defense when they came with the pressure. He had the lowest turnover-worthy play percentage in the entire NFL when blitzed. So that is something that is a positive, kind of with his ability to deal with pressure. And I thought there were moments as well where he managed the pocket decently. He was able to step up and avoid the rush, keep his eyes downfield, kind of step up in the pocket, help out his tackles a little bit. He's just not overly mobile. And so when it comes to extending plays or avoiding a rusher, he's just not able to do that at the super highest level. So that's something that if he is going to become this franchise quarterback, he's going to have to get a little bit better at kind of managing pressure, knowing how to attack a zero blitz. A lot of teams would throw that at him, and he just didn't quite have the answer. Part of that's on the coaching staff as well, but you want to just see him speed up his process a little bit when under pressure. And then overall, there are obviously concerns about his ceiling as an older rookie. You would certainly expect him to be pro-ready. You do kind of question how high the ceiling is. There were a lot of injuries in college as well. So he didn't have any injury issues, but is he going to be able to continue to stay durable? That's a question mark he still kind of needs to prove. And then there is this very small sample size. He started 9 games. They weren't exactly against the best defenses. He had Carolina, the Jets. These teams just weren't really super ridiculously good defenses that he was carving up that, helped them go 5-4 down the stretch in the season. So that's still an area that he, needs to prove out as well. I think there's absolutely no reason to think that Shough can't be a really good quarterback in this league, just based on what we saw in his rookie season. We've certainly seen worse rookie seasons from guys who ended up being really, really good quarterbacks, but I think there's still just a lot still to prove. Moving to the 2026 season now, kind of after we've recapped what he did in 2025, and why this maybe is potentially a quarterback that can break out a little bit. And the biggest thing is going to be the surrounding cast around him, most notably wide receiver. The wide receiver play down the stretch was really bad. He had all respect to these guys, but Ronnie Bell, Mason Tipton, Kevin Austin all played very significant snaps for them down the stretch. Olave was injured some. Vele was there. He was in and out of the lineup a little bit as well. You add Jordan Tyson, who was a first-round pick, a top 10 selection. Tyson is a guy who can win at all 3 levels of the field. He has very good route running, separation, great hands. He can go up and make tough plays at the catch point as well. Really, the biggest question with Jordan Tyson is injuries. And so again, we'll bring up Olave as well, but if this group can stay healthy, it's going to be incredibly talented. Olave is, a really good star number 1 wide receiver when he's able to stay healthy. That's just been a major question mark for him. Jordan Tyson, I think, there's a very good chance he would have been the first wide receiver off the board in this draft if he had been able to stay healthy and, finish out a season and really play well. I think there's just a lot of question marks surrounding the health, because when those guys, both of them, are on the field, I think they're really, really exciting options. Tyson is the kind of guy who really has wide receiver one type of potential. He showed that at Arizona State as a really good route runner. I think everything is in front of him for being a really productive player. And that's really exciting for Shough. You've got kind of Olave as this deep threat, true field stretcher type with his elite speed. Jordan Tyson's kind of more of that guy who can win at all three levels of the field. You have a nice complement there. And then you have Devon Vele as well, who is 6'5". He provides the size. He provides the ability to go up and be that contested catch ball winner at 6'5", 210 pounds. He certainly provides that. And 293 yards, 2 touchdowns. I think there were moments that Vele looked really good when he was able to be healthy and stay out there as well. And then you also had a guy like Bryce Lance later on in the draft. He is a very explosive player. He had a ridiculous yards per route run. When he got the ball, he is an explosive player. He is a big downfield threat. And then he's also a massive yak weapon as well. The giant question mark there is going to be that he is an older prospect and played at North Dakota State. So it's going to be a major step up in competition. But overall, this wide receiver room should be much better. And then looking to the offensive line as well, in front of Tyler Shough, it should be better as well. Signed David Edwards from the Bills. He's a great player, probably the number one guard on the market. You really fill a major need there. Watching some of the tape, it was pretty rough at that other guard spot. So being able to plug in David Edwards, who is a really rock solid player, and replace guys who were just turnstiles at the guard spots last year, that is a big time addition. Year 2 and 3 of Kelvin Banks and Talise Fuaga respectively have developed pretty nicely. Banks looked really, really good as a rookie, and then Fuaga is a guy who is a nasty run blocker. I think that, he has turned into a pretty nice selection. So you've got your bookend tackles there. You've got David Edwards, who now is a really nice player. And then Cesar Ruiz and Eric McCoy are very solid players when healthy. They're getting up there in age a little bit, and they do have some injury question marks. Eric McCoy in particular is really solid when he's out there, but health, again, is the biggest question mark here. So this has a potential to be maybe a top 10, top 15 unit in the NFL. So that is a big time help for a guy who, maybe his biggest problem is dealing with pressure. He's probably going to have to do that less this year with, a really solid offensive line room, an upgraded unit, and that should really help him. And then earlier as well, we talked about how he is really quick to get to his checkdowns, especially, the running backs. He used his running backs a ton, in his rookie season. You sign a guy like Travis Etienne, who's maybe not the special runner in between the tackles. His vision lacks sometimes, but he is a great receiving back. Alvin Kamara was a fantastic receiving back, like the prototype outside of Christian McCaffrey for being a receiving back. And, he's getting up in there in age. We'll see if he's even on the roster come the start of the season. There's been some trade rumors there, but I think that Etienne provides really nice burst and really nice ability to, as a receiving back, catch the ball out of the backfield, make plays for Shough, really help keep the offense on schedule. I think that is going to be effective for Shough, being able to just kind of know that he has a weapon even when he hits his checkdowns. And then generally, I do believe in Kellen Moore as the head coach of this team to call a pretty good offense for Shough. He doesn't really run the Shanahan system like a vast majority of the league. He's kind of developed his own little tree under Mike McCarthy and then kind of his own system as well. It's more of a West Coast type of system. Lots of 11 personnel. They ran 11 personnel. The Saints did the 4th highest rates in the NFL last year. So you're going to have 3 wide receivers on the field. Last year when you were starting guys like Ronnie Bell, Mason Tipton, Kevin Austin, that's a lot worse than looking at starting Olave and Jordan Tyson and Vele and Bryce Lance in the mix there. It's a much, much better room to run 11 personnel as well. So that's something that's really exciting. Jawan Johnson, I think, had some really nice plays last year. So there's a lot to like in this room. And so I think overall, the supporting cast around Tyler Shough is significantly better than last year and pretty well balanced to play to the offensive strengths, what Kellen Moore likes to do, and what Shough likes to do as well. So overall, my thoughts on how I think Shough is going to do this year. I think he has all the talent to be a top half of the league starter, will likely be a guy the Saints choose to build around. I think his ability under pressure needs to be improved, and his lack of truly game-breaking traits mixed in with his potentially lower ceiling just because of his age, and, that may prevent him from ever being a true bona fide top 10 star quarterback. But I think he showed enough in 10 games as a rookie to be really excited about him if you're a Saints fan. And in year 2, with upgraded weapons around him, I absolutely think there's a world where he can be, a top 8 to 15 quarterback in the NFL, be really productive, run Kellen Moore's offense really effectively. And if this defense is any good, I think the Saints have a legitimate chance to win the NFC South and absolutely compete for a division title, with Shough kind of at the center of that. So that's going to do it for my video. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Do you believe in Tyler Shough? Do you think he's going to be a star? Thank you so much for watching. If you like this kind of content, please hit that like button. While you're down there, hit the subscribe button as well. Both of those just free and easy ways to support the channel. Thank you so much for watching. I will catch you in the next one.